Phase 1, Episode 4 of Iconic Fashion Figure Point of View. And Episode 4 is about preparing my tech pack for the manufacturer. And here's what I include in my tech pack. This is In the Making, Season 26. 1 collection, 2 perspectives, every detail. The designing phase is all about the emotion, but when it comes to production, that's about precision. Once the sketches are done, the next step is to focus on creating the blueprint, and that's going to be the tech pack. This is how I speak directly to the manufacturer and tell them what to do without me actually being in the room. So here we are with tech packs, everyone's favorite part, or probably the least favorite part, but it has to be done. And they're really not hard to do, it's just really time consuming, which is why a lot of people don't like to do them, and a lot of repetitive work. Tech packs consume of a lot of data entry, which is what makes it a lot of work, especially when you have a ton of different SKUs like I do. So you're creating a tech pack for every single SKU, and you're entering this information in over and over again for each SKU, all of the fabric information, measurements, the grading, etc. It becomes really time consuming, which is why it's not everyone's favorite part, but it has to be done. So let me show you guys how I create my tech packs. So a tech pack is the roadmap. It tells the factory how to produce what it is that I envisioned. Without a tech pack, it's like a guessing game for the manufacturer because they're going off a sketch and trying to assume what it is that I want just from that sketch. But with the tech pack, I'm giving the manufacturer exactly what it is that they need in order to produce my vision, down to the smallest stitch. Previously, I've created a video on how to create tech packs. I'll link it down below in case you want to watch that one because I show that to you through Excel, whereas I typically use Adobe. But if you don't want to use Adobe, I do have a tutorial on Excel. And then I'll quickly show you what I do as far as Adobe. I build my tech packs in Adobe Illustrator. I usually will start out with a template because I already have a template created for my business, and then I just plug in the necessary details for that specific design. And each tech pack is organized by style number, so every style number has its own tech pack. I've also shown you how to create one using Excel if you don't have Adobe, so you can do it that way too. But me personally, I use Adobe Illustrator. So as you can see behind me, this is my Adobe that I would use. This is an old tech pack that I've already created for a previous collection. That one's actually 2018. That's how old that is. But this is one of my tech packs. I just pulled an old one because the new ones aren't created yet. I don't actually create my own tech packs. So I have one of my old ones that I did do myself so you guys can see it, and you can see it from like the older years as like more of a beginner. But if you do create your tech packs in Excel, I do have a free template that you can use. So I'll try to link that in the description box as well if I don't forget to do it. But you can use that template so that way you can just plug in your information that you need to put in for your designs. The point of the tech pack is part design, it's part documentation, and it's like part instruction manual too. Just make sure everything in your tech pack is very clear. So now as far as what you need in your tech pack, I'm going to quickly run through all the pages I recommend including. And here is in Numbers. I have Mac, so I have Numbers. I don't actually really use Excel. I either use Numbers or Google Sheets, which you can use that template in either one. But this is in Numbers, so this is what it will look like. And as you can see at the top, I have all of my tabs. So I have the sketch page, the construction page, which those images are off probably because it was an Excel template. The BOM, my colorways, spec sheet, grade rule, grade checking, label placement, fold process, and my sample tracker, which I'm going to explain each page in a moment. I'm not going to just throw you out to the wolves to figure these pages out after I just listed them all, but those are all the pages I typically include in my tech packs. Now, what do I include in my tech packs? Like I said, every SKU gets its own tech pack. And in my tech packs, I always include the sketches, and I'll make some call outs on those sketches if needed. You have the BOM, which is the bill of materials. And the BOM just basically breaks down all the fabrics and trims that are going to be used for that design. So you remember the main fabric, if there's any lining fabric, maybe you have a different fabric for your pockets, you have zippers, you have buttons, appliques. Any materials needed to create that design, you list in the BOMs. Then you have your measurements. And when it comes to measurements, I use my own measurements. You don't have to use the standard measurements because at this point in time, there's no standard anymore. Everyone's sizing is kind of all over the place. So use what sizing that works for your brand. And then along with those components, you also have your different colorways if there's more than one color. You have fabric and trim notes. So if there's any specifics you need to call out about the fabric, like the stretch and things like that, you have those notes in there. You have construction details. You have the label and branding placement. You have your grading, which is taking your measurements and scaling it across the different sizes. And then any other special notes in there. And then at the very end of my tech pack, I always have like the comments page, the approval page, if you want to call it that. That's where I communicate with the manufacturer and myself. So we know if once I receive a sample, what was wrong with the sample and what needs to be fixed. That's where I also tell them if we need to recreate another sample for me to do a fitting with, or we can approve with corrections, or it's just approved and there's nothing that needs to be changed. Now let's run through my tech pack example. Since I'm already in numbers, I'll just go ahead and use the numbers one. But on the sketch page, I have my header, which is on all pages if you haven't noticed. That is to make sure they all stay together. In case the manufacturer chooses to print this, you want all the pages to stay together. So it has my style number, it tells the sample type. So this was a tech pack for a development sample. It could be fit sample, production sample, whatever it is that you're trying to do. When it's a development sample tech pack, basically that is letting the manufacturer know when they produce the sample, it doesn't necessarily have to be to spec because there will most likely be changes anyway. This is more so to see how the design comes out. So that is just for the development. The fit sample will actually be to spec, and then production has to be exactly how it's going to be when it is produced. So then, I have the label because I have multiple labels. There's a quick description, there's a size chart, seasons, the fabric, and then my sample size, what category, and care, which usually will have more in there. Supplier information I'll have at the bottom. Then we have the construction page, so the fabrics and trims that are used. This top actually ended up having a zipper too, so that must have been in the updated tech pack. It's not in this one. Then you have the BOMs where it has everything that is included in that tech pack. So we have fabric, buttons, thread, the labels, whatever you can think of that is needed to create your designs, it would be on the BOM. Then I have all the different colorways that this garment came in. So you would have to have the colorways for the main fabric, if there's any contrast fabrics, the thread, the buttons, and I include Pantone numbers. DTM means dye to match. So like my thread, I want it to match the fabric. I don't want a thread that is a different color than the fabric. Then I have all the measurements. I like to do total circumference, meaning the measurements are full around the garment, so front and back, as opposed to only doing like the front measurement only. You can do that if you want to, you just have to specify that, like how I do at the bottom. I also have a section for comments, so you can add something like that in there too. So that's basically letting the manufacturer know that they need to double the measurements that you have on here. Trust me, I've done rookie mistake where I will have a comment at the bottom that says it's total circumference, but then my measurement will be front only. So be careful of that. The TOL is the tolerance. So this is how much I'm okay with the measurements being off. So it can be off half an inch and it'll technically still pass QC. But anything more than that or less than that, because it's plus or minus, it will not pass QC. That'll be rejected. Then you have your grade rule, which the grade rule is based off of the different sizes. So my sample size is a size small, so I have the measurements here already for small. But when it comes to production, because remember this is development, so when it comes to production, I will have the measurements in here for extra small, medium, large, extra large, and whatever sizes you offer. Now for those of you wondering how to get your measurements, because I know that question comes up a lot, you can take a garment, which I don't even have any garments near me. Of course, I have this blanket here. Let's say this blanket is my garment and I need to measure the width of it. I need to measure, let's say this is the waist of it. Take a garment you have at home, or you can go to a store. You guys have probably heard me on my channel say this multiple times. Take it with you, get a measuring tape and measure it. and figure out what the measurements are. And if you need to know other sizes, that's the perfect time to go in a store and measure the other sizes. Just choose a brand that is similar to yours, to the fit that you're interested in. You can also adjust the measurements as needed and just use that as a guide. But don't get stuck on the measurements. It's okay to start somewhere and then you can tweak it later. Like I said, I made the mistake before where I've accidentally put just the front measurement only, but had a comment on there that it was total circumference. My manufacturer reached out to me right away and said these measurements aren't making sense. They offered to go ahead and adjust the measurements to what makes sense to make it work. I gave them the okay to go ahead and do that because I trusted them, but then the garment actually didn't come out how I wanted it to fit, so we had to correct it. But truly, that was my fault because I didn't give them the right measurements in the beginning. But I say that to say that they're going to double check those things for you. They're going to make sure the measurements make sense. If they don't make sense, they'll call it out to you. They'll offer to fix it, or you can figure out what's going on with your measurements. You fix it and then send it back in. That's the point of this tech pack. It is to help avoid issues like that. So that is the grade rule. Then you have the grade checking. So this is when you actually get your sample and you have the requested measurements, and as you measure out your samples, because you should definitely measure your samples when you receive them to make sure it matches what you requested, you'll write out what the actual is. Make sure it's within your tolerance. If it's not, that's something you reject. And then if you have too many measurements that are way too off, they need to go back and resample that. If they're at least within the tolerance, you still mark it on here so they know that, hey, you're cutting it close, you're within the tolerance, but it is a little off, so they can pay attention to that for production. A lot of times that could be because of the pattern. The pattern wasn't made right, so before they go on production, that gives the manufacturer an opportunity to fix the measurements on the pattern before they go into production. Good to call that out. Definitely measure your samples. Label placement, I call out where I want like my hang tag, my garment label, care label on here so they know, and then I have the artwork on here as well. Then I specify how I want my garments folded, because especially with like this garment here with the type of fabric that I used, it wrinkles, and I want to make sure my garments aren't super wrinkled when they're received, and I also want to make sure they're packed flat. So I do specify that. You don't see this in every tech pack, but since I have it, I include it. And then our final page is the sample tracker. So this is when you receive your sample. After you check the measurements, you decide if it's approved or not. So you're going to add in some notes. I do fit notes, construction notes, and material notes, and then I let them know if the sample is approved or if it's not approved. This is for date of approval. Normally I have approved with corrections too. I must didn't have it in this one at that time, but I usually approve with corrections, so they know like whatever notes I put in here, you need to correct this before it goes into production. But otherwise, if it's just approved, there's really nothing to correct. Just go ahead and produce it. So that's my full tech pack in a nutshell, just running through it quickly. Tech packs, again, I'm telling you, they're not hard to do. It's just very time consuming. I have a full video on tech packs if you really want to learn how to create tech packs. That's where I show you how to create it in Excel. So you can watch that video if you want to go more in depth on how to create a tech pack. This is more about me showing you my behind the scenes of what I do. So some details are hard to capture, especially when creating a sketch and it's just a flat sketch. So it's good to make notes. Add in notes about like hidden details that you may not see just from a flat sketch. Add in notes about movement of the fabric, because you can cut fabric in certain directions and you're going to get different results, especially if it's a stretchy fabric, because it may stretch one way and not the other. It's good to call out the movement that you're expecting with the garment. It also helps if you're not sourcing your own fabrics but the manufacturer is sourcing it. You want to call out that movement so they know what type of fabric you're looking for that sketch. Whatever it is that comes to mind with your design, document it. It's better to have it in your tech pack than not have it at all, and then you get your first sample and you're confused on why your sample looks like that. Now, one of the things that I didn't show you in this tech pack, because I didn't have it in this development sample, but it's callouts. You'll notice, which I'll show you in a moment, I have comment sections and for notes, but sometimes on the sketches I'll put callouts as well, just because I want to make sure the manufacturer understands what it is I'm trying to portray to them. So for example, on this garment I mentioned that this top ended up having a zipper. It was actually a hidden hidden zipper on the side so you don't see it in the sketch, but I would literally just draw a line and then put a note hidden zipper so they know the placement of the zipper. This sketch here, to me, it's clear that it's off the shoulder, but maybe someone may not understand what my sketch is, so I can throw in a note off the shoulder. The sleeve, it does have the button there, but it is small. That's something I can call out to let them know that there's the button there for the sleeve. When it comes to being very detailed, because you want to be as detailed as possible with your tech packs, which is why I give them the folding instructions, you call those things out on your sketches too. Even fit, if you, let's say, want this top part to be super flowy, call that out, because it may not make sense, especially with the fabric type. The fabric type may be more for garments that are very structured type of garments, but you want it to be more flowy. That way the manufacturer can let you know that, hey, the fabric you chose isn't the right fabric for this garment if you want it to be flowy. They can recommend other fabrics for you. So be detailed as possible. Let them know the fit you want. Let them know the whole look that you're going for. The fabric you can call out, but if it's wrong, they'll give you a heads up and help you find the right fabric. Call out any details that may not make sense in your sketch, especially if you're a beginner, you're still learning. Your sketch may not be perfect, and that's okay. Just add in the notes. There's space on the sides here where you can add in information, at least on mine. I don't make the sketches too big, and I also do mine landscape mode, not portrait. So there's space to make notes. You can put a note section down at the bottom here too, under the supplier as well, to add in any notes for your sketch, but be as detailed as possible. Tech packs can be very time consuming, especially when you're creating them for several different styles. But once they're all done, I can send them over to Riche, and that's when it becomes their turn to bring my documents to life. So now once my sketches are all done, all of my tech packs are done. I personally, because you guys have seen the amount of sketches that I have, and you haven't even seen them all, I don't send all my tech packs at once because it takes time to make all those tech packs. But once I finish a tech pack, so like let's say this one is already done, I'll go ahead, attach this to an email, and send it out. I don't wait until all my tech packs are done and then send them. I send them as they're done, because then that allows the factory to start doing what it is they need to do on their end and get that ball rolling, and then just keep sending in all my tech packs as needed. So it's like an ongoing basis to get them all done. But that's it. Once you have all the information in here, you attach it to an email and you send it off to the manufacturer, and they'll contact you once they receive it. The designs are done. The instructions are clear. Next time you see them, they won't be sketches anymore. If you haven't already, subscribe now to follow the journey as we move from file to fabric.